So I'm using this weekend to play catch up. I'm going to review one of the most talked about and hyped up films of 2015, and it's an indie movie. It Follows. Yes, this is the new indie horror movie that has been all the rage. Everyone's talking about it, saying how super scary it is and super original and all that stuff, and I agree with one of those things. It's scary to a point, but it's not the scariest thing you'll ever see, but it's pretty darn original. So It Follows is about a girl who is haunted by an entity that follows you, and you have to pass it on by having sex with someone else. So yes, it is basically a sexually transmitted demon. So this ST demon follows you, and its main goal is to kill you, but it just walks at you, so you have time to get away, but it will always find you. This is a pretty nifty film to be added to the horror genre, especially because the main character is a young female. She's a high schooler, I think. Breaks a lot of the final girl tropes. I'm sure if you've seen horror movies, you've heard about the whole final girl thing. The final girl usually has a boy's name. She is the one who doesn't have sex, and the main rule in horror movies is if you have sex, you're dead. So it's really interesting for a horror movie that's all about an entity that's passed along by having sex and just breaking all of the final girl tropes. It's really clever. What I like about the final girl of this movie is that, yeah, she has sex, but she's normal too. She's just a high school girl and played by the chick from The Guest, and she's pretty good in this movie. But even though she has sex, she's not, like slutty, so that's nice. It's also clear that this movie is inspired by the many horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and it's definitely a throwback. Even though it's not a slasher film, it's reminiscent kind of like Halloween or even Nightmare on Elm Street because it's, set in suburban area. I think it's Detroit, but most of it takes place on a suburban street, which is reminiscent of Nightmare on Elm Street. And I liked how it revolved around this girl and her group of friends trying to figure out how to stop this thing. But again, that just shows how inspired it is from those movies, but at the same time is still super original, at least compared to most of the horror movies that come out today. The directing and cinematography of this movie are also really good. The movie looks amazing. While it is a horror movie, it's also an indie film, and it's a bit more artsy than most horror movies, again, mostly because of just how precise some of the shots are. You know that a lot of thought went into every shot of this movie. So it's a very thoughtful indie horror movie in that sense. It also takes its time too. It's not, constant scariness or action. There are some minor inconsistencies I had an issue with. There isn't too much explanation as to why and how the demon is doing its thing. And I like knowing why, so I thought more stuff about the origin of it would have been cool. But again, with this movie, kind of less is more, I guess. But yeah, it would have just been cool to know more about the entity or ST demon and why and how it came about and why it's doing this. But that's just me. But besides those things, it's a very enjoyable indie horror movie and a great addition to the genre. It is a bit overhyped, especially when people are saying it's the scariest movie ever, and it's not. So I'm gonna give It Follows a nice. It's very enjoyable, very nice to watch. Visually, it's just amazing. And for an indie horror movie, it does a good job. It is quite a relief from the more mainstream horror movies we see today. So good on you. So what did you guys think of It Follows? I'd be really interested to hear from you. And what's your favorite horror movie? I know that's a bit broad, but just let me know. Okay guys, that's it for me. Hope you're having a great day, and I will see you soon. Toodles!